Let's talk about Pastor James Wong. He's a researcher of Korean mission history who, after serving as a missionary out in China, is now serving in Maryland. And he has dedicated his work to uncovering these powerful, often untold stories of faith that have really shaped a nation. So today we're diving into his amazing book, Remember and Repay. We're going to bring you the mission history for the very first week of March. And believe me, it's an incredible story of faith and freedom, one that still echoes more than a century later. Okay, I want you to picture this. It's March 1st, 1919. All across Korea, from the busy streets of Seoul to the smallest, most remote villages, a single, powerful cry for independence just erupts. But get this, this wasn't some violent rebellion. It was a stunning, unified, and peaceful roar of defiance against colonial rule. Now, a lot of people know that the immediate spark was tied to the sudden death of King Gojong. But what really pushed an entire nation to its absolute breaking point? Well, to understand that cry for freedom, we've got to go back. We have to look at the decades of oppression that really set the stage. Yeah, a movement this massive doesn't just appear out of thin air. So let's rewind the clock and see how Korean sovereignty was systematically taken apart piece by painful piece. I mean, just look at this timeline. It is a relentless 25-year downward spiral. It all starts in 1894 with a war fought on Korean soil. Just a year later, the Queen is assassinated. Fast forward to 1904, there's another war, and Japan's grip gets even tighter. By 1905, Korea loses its voice on the world stage. 2 years later, its army is gone and its king is forced off the throne. And then, the final blow in 1910, total annexation. The Korean Empire was just gone. And while all this was happening, a secret deal was being struck behind closed doors, the Katsura-Taft Agreement of 1905. It was basically a quiet pact. The U.S. gets the Philippines, and in exchange, Japan gets a free hand in Korea. One American missionary who had become a diplomat, Horace Allen, he saw what was happening. He protested to the U.S. government, but he was ignored. So the result of this whole downward spiral was, of course, total annexation. Japan imposed a brutal military police rule, crushing any form of public assembly. It was an era of intense suppression, for sure, but it was also the very soil where the incredible resistance that was about to come would begin to grow. But even in all this darkness, a spark appeared, and it came from two places: a powerful idea from across the ocean and a tragic event that would unexpectedly unite the entire nation. That big international idea came from U.S. President Woodrow Wilson. He was championing this principle of self-determination. He declared that people should only be governed by their own consent. Now, for Korean activists living under colonial rule, these words weren't just some political theory. They were like a lightning bolt of hope. And then came the spark at home. In January of 1919, Emperor Gojong, the symbol of the old empire, died. Suddenly. And instantly, the whole nation was just swept with rumors that he had been poisoned by the Japanese. This shared suspicion and this shared grief, it galvanized the people like nothing before. And you can see here how organizers cleverly channeled all that tragedy into a three-step plan. First, they used the shared grief to unite everyone. Second, the emperor's upcoming funeral provided the perfect cover for huge crowds to gather. And third, hidden within all the mourning, a nationwide, peaceful protest was secretly organized. So who was actually leading this movement? The answer reveals a crucial and often overlooked group right at the very heart of the uprising. So to officially launch the movement, a Declaration of Independence was drafted, and it was signed by 33 national representatives, 33 people who courageously put their names on a document that openly defied the entire Japanese empire. So of those 33 leaders, what's the significance of this number? 16. 16 of the 33 signatories, that's nearly half, were Christians. Leaders like Lee Sing-hoon and Pastor Gil Seon-ju were central to the movement's moral and organizational core. You see, this faith community wasn't some fringe element. It was part of the very backbone of the leadership. And that Christian influence, it extended way beyond Korea's borders. Foreign missionaries became a vital link to the outside world. People like Homer Holbert pleaded Korea's case internationally, while William Linton witnessed the brutal crackdown and made sure the world knew what was happening. They were Korea's voice when it was being silenced. So the crucial point here is this. The March 1st movement was absolutely a story of a nation's will to be free. But that will was powerfully amplified by the moral conviction of its Christian leaders and the brave advocacy of their missionary allies. Faith wasn't just part of the story. It was a central pillar. So it really leaves us with this question. How does remembering all these different figures, the pastors, the missionaries, the ordinary citizens, how does that change our understanding of this movement today? It shows us that a nation's cry for freedom is often a chorus of many, many different voices.